Shock, secret, Roberto De Zerbi deal, Thomas Tuchel decision made, Jadon Sancho price tag set, and a new left-back incoming. These are some of the stories we're going to be discussing on this morning's show. But before we get into that, please give the video a thumbs up. Let's try and see 200 likes on this morning's show. And subscribe to the channel if this is your first time watching. Throughout the whole transfer window, we'll be live in the morning and in the evening. And if anything breaks during the day, we will go live as well. So make sure you get involved in the channel. It would be great to have you on board for this. To be honest, it's going to be a massive summer for the club. Absolutely massive. I think it's going to be our biggest summer in the last decade. So if you are interested in all things Man United, make sure you subscribe, get involved in the community. Right. Let's start the show off by talking a little bit about Jadon Sancho then, shall we? The headline this morning is that apparently Man United have officially set the price tag for Jadon Sancho. Okay, that's good. That's progress. £50 million. That's apparently what they're asking Dortmund to pay if they want to keep Jadon Sancho beyond their loan, which obviously expires, I think, in a couple of weeks after the Champions League final. 50 million, I would be more than happy with that. I think that is probably fair. The English media seem to be making out that he's world class and that Erik ten Hag doesn't know what he's doing. He's got the same amount of goals and assists as what Antony's got since January. Let that sink in for a minute. This player who's being hailed as this unbelievable talent and Erik ten Hag has done him wrong and he's world class. You know, you hear all of the kind of Talk Sport, Sky Sports. I mean, TNT Sport, when he was playing in the Champions League against, who was it against? PSG. Like, they were literally making out he was the best player they've ever seen. It was kind of embarrassing, to be honest. And you can just see firsthand where the agenda is against Man United and against Erik ten Hag. And if you actually look at his stats, a lot of the games he's played since he went there, he's been quite poor. And he's only got, as I said, the same amount of assists and goals as Antony has since January in the same amount of time. And I think that just kind of sums it up for me, you know? Most people in the Man United fan base think Antony was a waste of money. They think he's terrible. They think he shouldn't play for Man United again, right? But then you've got rival fans saying, Erik ten Hag doesn't know what he's doing. Jadon Sancho's world class. Look how well he's playing at Dortmund. Like, I just think it's a little bit... I mean, they're not looking at the whole bigger picture, you know? Because if I came out this morning saying that Antony's world class and we should give him whatever he wants and he should be here forever, people would be laughing me off this channel, wouldn't they? But when you compare that to Jadon Sancho, who's got the same amount of goals and assists, playing in a better side than Man United, that kind of sums it up for me. So I think 50 million, I think that would be a good deal for Man United. I know it still means we're losing money versus what we paid for him, but I don't really see a way back for Jadon Sancho at Man United. Obviously, if Erik ten Hag gets sacked, which I don't want to happen, but is a possibility, then maybe Jadon Sancho comes back. And that probably will be part of Ineos's decision-making. They can look at it and say, if we keep Erik ten Hag, we're probably going to have to get rid of a lot of players. You know, they're probably going to have to get rid of Sancho. They're probably going to have to get rid of, a couple of others. Whereas if a new manager comes in, they might not have to spend as much money. They could probably say, everyone gets a second chance. Jadon comes back. Maybe Donny van de Beek gets another chance. I mean, God forbid, please no. But yeah, for me, he's had his chance at Man United. I know there's obviously two sides to every argument, but him calling out the manager, that was a step too far for me personally. So yeah, £50 million, I think that's a fair price, you know. Dortmund have still made probably £20 million versus what we gave them for him. I think we paid 75 million. So they've effectively given him to us for 2 years and then got him back and still made 25 million. So I think it's win-win for Dortmund, really. And all of these stories saying that, you know, Dortmund don't have any money. They're in the Champions League final. They've just qualified for the Champions League as well. How are we supposed to believe that Dortmund don't have any money? I think it's absolute rubbish. I think more what they're saying is Dortmund don't want to spend the money. Dortmund want to try and get themselves some sort of cut price deal for Jadon Sancho. And that shouldn't happen. Like, I would rather have Jadon Sancho back than sell him for like 20 million because that's just laughable. We need to get as close to what we paid for him because otherwise it doesn't really help our financial fair play situation. Because if we sell Jadon Sancho for 50 million and we bought him for 75 million, that won't be profit because we'll have paid 25 million more than what we then sell him for. Does that make sense? So we've got to be really, really careful here. So I think anything less than kind of 40, 50 million, it's almost not even worth it. Especially if we want to spend lots of money this summer, we need to make sure that our books and our financial fair play limits are like really, really on point. But what you guys can do is let me know in the comment section, how much do you think Jadon Sancho is worth? Is there a world where you want him back at Man United? Say if Erik ten Hag is sacked, would you give him a second chance? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Me personally, 50 million sounds good. Get rid of him. Everyone who's just joined the video, by the way, if you could smash a like, that would be really, really appreciated. Let's try and go for 200 likes on this morning's show. And if you are new, subscribe as well. As I said, throughout the whole transfer window, we will be live in the morning, the evening, and throughout the whole day. So if you are a Man United fan and you like knowing what your club's up to, then make sure you get involved. Right, moving on from that. Actually, quickly, just one more bit. Fabrizio Romano on Jadon Sancho. He says that Jadon Sancho's priority is to stay at Dortmund next season. So it looks like he will probably stay there. Obviously, I'll keep you posted on that throughout the transfer window. Moving on to the manager. And we're going to talk a little bit about Roberto De Zerbi. Obviously, he has left Brighton. He is no longer their manager and he is now available. And there's a story that's broke this morning from a journalist in Italy reporting that an unnamed club has paid Brighton around 4.3 million as compensation to sign the Manchester United linked manager Roberto De Zerbi. It goes on to say that everything is already done and complete, but there is maximum confidentiality about who the club is. Now, obviously, this has sent Man United fans into an absolute spiral this morning, because why would they not announce Roberto De Zerbi? I mean, maybe because there's an FA Cup final on Saturday. Maybe because it's disrespectful to Erik ten Hag. Maybe. It's really, really hard to predict. We know that Roberto De Zerbi is really, really admired by Ineos. That's a fact. Ineos tried to sign him at their other club, Nice. I think it was a couple of years ago. Before Roberto De Zerbi went to Brighton, Ineos tried to sign him at Nice. So there is already that direct link there. And obviously you've got to remember as well that Dan Ashworth, who's the new director of football at Man United, or is going to be in the next couple of weeks, he used to be the director of football at Brighton. So Roberto De Zerbi and Dan Ashworth have worked together already. They already have an existing relationship. So, like, it seems like the most obvious person to become the Man United manager, in my opinion, if there was going to be a sacking, purely because you can piece all the bits together. He doesn't have a club. There's journalists saying that he's agreed to move to a new club. They're not allowed to say who it is because of maximum confidentiality. Most clubs around Europe, their seasons are finished, Like Chelsea have nothing to play for. The season's over. Whereas Man United have probably the biggest game of our season this Saturday. Do I think De Zerbi will become the new Man United manager? I honestly don't know. I don't. There are some people in the media saying that Erik ten Hag will keep his job if he beats Man City on Saturday, and some people are saying that if he doesn't, he'll be sacked. And I think that that's a little bit too black and white for me. It's a bit, day and night. And if that's how Ineos are running things, I think that's pretty poor, to be honest, to base their judgment on one game. Either Erik ten Hag is the man for them to take us forward for the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, or he isn't. They should know that by now. They should have that gut feeling inside of them, looking at Erik ten Hag after conversations with him, watching his training methods, watching how the teams play, watching his transfer policies, whatever it is. They should be able to analyse the situation and be able to definitively say whether he is the man to take their project forward. That shouldn't be based on one game. That shouldn't just be based on an FA Cup final against the best team in the world at the moment. A team who've won the Premier League 4 times in a row. A team whose bench is probably better than our starting 11, being completely honest. And if that is how they're running things, then I genuinely am worried, because I think that's actually pretty bad. But obviously we don't know. It's impossible to give an opinion, because I hope that they've made up their decision. If they want to keep him, I hope that will be announced. But yeah, we'll obviously have to wait and see what happens with that one. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section. Do you think that Man United are going to bring in De Zerbi? Do you think this unnamed club, who've apparently already agreed to sign him as the new manager, is Manchester United? Obviously, we're linked to him in this story, but it does say that there is maximum confidentiality about who the club is, which does make me think it might be Man United purely because of this FA Cup final. But that's just an opinion. It doesn't say that in this story, and obviously you've got to be very careful when you're listening to shows like this to hear the story from a journalist, and then when I give my opinion, you can make your own opinion. Does that make sense? I don't want you, I try and separate the journalist's words and then my words. The journalist says it's an unnamed club, and my perception of it is Ineos wanted him at Nice. Dan Ashworth has worked with him at Brighton. He fits the age profile. He's 44. We've been hearing that Man United want a young manager. He's about 10 years younger than Erik ten Hag. And obviously at Brighton, he was the head coach. And we're also hearing that Man United and Ineos want a head coach now. They don't want a manager. The difference being a manager has involvement in the signing of players, like Erik ten Hag has, bringing in Onana, Antony, Mason Mount, lots of questionable signings. Whereas a head coach, Pep Guardiola is a head coach. Jurgen Klopp is a head coach. They did not sign the players. So you have to understand this. Erik ten Hag, when he came into Manchester United, was given way too much power, which I agree with 100%. But that was only because of the lack of structure around him. It wasn't because they thought Erik ten Hag was an incredible scout and an incredible talent ID. Erik ten Hag came in and said, effectively, John Murtough and Richard Arnold aren't going to be the directors of football because they effectively don't know what they're doing. We don't have a director of football. We don't have footballing people in the setup. So Erik ten Hag was effectively the scout, the manager, the coach. Do you know what I mean? And that should never happen. And I think the really key detail here is that, Ineos supposedly want a head coach. And Erik ten Hag, when he joined, wanted to be more than the head coach. So it's an interesting one. Let's have a look what the bookies are saying quickly, just because I know the bookies are sometimes wrong, but it's interesting to see what the bookies are saying. So as it stands as of today, Thomas Tuchel is apparently the favourite, then Gareth Southgate, then Roberto De Zerbi. So that's kind of the three at the moment. But we'll keep you updated on that one. Obviously, let me know in the comments section what you think about Roberto De Zerbi. He's had a very poor season with Brighton this year, being honest. But he did do well with them last year. Obviously, got them to their first ever European competition, which was obviously incredible for a smaller team like Brighton. But yeah, he has really struggled this season. But they still play nice, attractive football. Obviously, they don't have the resources of a team like Man United. They don't have the... arguably, I'd say that their players are kind of better, though. They're hungrier. It's difficult, isn't it? But he's definitely a good manager. We'll wait and see what happens with that one. Right, let's move on to some more transfer-related stuff. Let's talk about the right-back position. So apparently Man United are currently discussing about whether to bring in Jeremy Frimpong from Bayern Leverkusen. They need to know now. Again, the same with the manager. They need to... I was expecting Ineos to already know what they wanted to do this summer. The season is finished, effectively, for most clubs. You see teams like Aston Villa. Aston Villa are apparently getting Ross Barkley and are going to put in a bid for Araujo from Barcelona. Just let that sink in for a minute. A team that are now a direct rival who finished above us in the Premier League, have got Champions League football, have already pretty much signed Ross Barkley, which, whether you think he's good or not, is up to you, but he would probably get in the Man United team at the moment. And they're apparently going to try and sign Araujo from Barcelona, or in the process of doing that. Whereas Man United is still having discussions about whether they want to sign Frimpong. We've been talking about Frimpong for about 3 years. We were talking about Frimpong when the Glazers were running the ship. I don't understand how they're still making decisions about whether they want to sign somebody or not. We need, as soon as that transfer window opens, I think it's on June the 14th, we need to see 3 or 4 players signed that week. If we're going to actually have time to build and structure for the next seasons, we can't be doing what we did before, where we signed Antony and Casemiro when the season's already started. And you've seen how badly that turned out for us, it's frustrating, but it is what it is. Quickly on Thomas Tuchel, the story this morning is that Thomas Tuchel has apparently made the decision to either take a break from management or move to the Premier League in the summer. He says there are 2 possible and concrete destinations for Tuchel, either Manchester United or Chelsea. And he says that loose talks have already started between the clubs. So this is coming from Florian Plettenberg, very reliable German journalist in reports for Sky Sports over in Germany. I could see him going back to Chelsea, to be honest. I think, obviously, it looks like Poch is going to leave Chelsea, which it seems a bit strange to me. I know Poch was bad at the beginning of the season, but I think he has turned it around. He's got a young squad, but that's fine. It's it's their club. They can do what they want. And I could see a world where Thomas Tuchel does end up back at Chelsea. I think he was sacked too early at Chelsea. I think, he should have been kept on. But let me know what you guys think about all of that. Quickly on the left back as well. Apparently Man United are having high-level meetings about bringing in a new left back again. how are they only starting to discuss this now? I know we don't have the director of football. I know that, Jason Wilcox has only just come in and all the rest of it. But I have this expectation that the transfer window is going to start and we go and do all of our business right away, because you've got the Euros as well. So there's lots of distractions this summer. The Euros finish mid-July and then the season starts 3 or 4 weeks later. So they need to get on with it effectively. But yeah, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. I will be back live at 6 p.m. today. This was a pre-recorded show because I've got some things I need to do this morning. So I can't be doing a live video, but I will be back at 6. If you have enjoyed today's video, please leave a like on your way out. Drop a comment as well. Why not? And subscribe to the channel as well. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a great day, everybody. I'll speak to you at 6 p.m.